one we use. And it is based on this definition I like a lot, and it's based on the work by Busarowski and Petrova, and is the inability to secure an adequate level of energy services in the home. Yes, let's see this definition. The first idea is what we understand as level of energy services. As energy services, we understand adequate warmth, cooling, lighting, and energy power for appliances in the home, and that are essential services that one person needs for guarantee a decent life, a decent standard of living, let's say. And it's also important to emphasize the idea of the home, because this is a domestic problem, a problem that happens at home. And this particularity is very important, because this makes for society very difficult to identify energy poverty. And one of the facts of the key characteristics of the problem is that it is a very hidden problem. Okay, so this is like the main idea about the definition, the first idea. Why happened this? Second idea, the causes. So the causes are multidimensional. Especially, we've been for a long time talking about three main causes. The price increases of the energy, of course, high energy prices. Then the fact of the house's stock is poor energy efficiency, okay, and needs a lot of energy to guarantee this decent standard of living. And then the third is the high income poverty rates. It uses to happen in homes where the income is low. But these were the three, let's say, famous causes. We've been working for a long time on these three, but it's true that recently new causes have been added to the problem. I had been identified. Let's say that there are houses that maybe the issue is not that the home is inefficient, but they have special needs. Maybe they need someone with a disability live there and need to be connected to a machine, which spends a lot of energy. It can also happen with people who have an inadequate capacity of social support mechanism. Okay, we will see that the social support is important in this problem, and is one of the people in energy poverty. We've seen that have a lack of social support in many of the occasions. Then the inability to move to a more efficient form of energy service. That can happen that you may be living in a rented house and you can't do anything related to energy efficiency, or even you can't change the energy bill of your contract, for example. And of course, the inadequate political and public recognition of the issue. These are the main multidimensional causes of the problem. The third idea is about impacts. We could be speaking about this a lot, all the seminar, and I have just 1 minute to speak about this, but very briefly, of course, it has a very, very big impact on health. In fact, our WELLBASED project tries to generate a lot of evidence of how energy poverty impacts on people's health, on physical health. It occurs respiratory diseases, cardiovascular diseases, people with asthma, etc., exacerbate their disease due to energy poverty, but also on mental health. People suffer anxiety, depression, isolation, loneliness due to the fact of they live in situation of energy poverty. And it has to do also with the other consequences. They are all very interrelated, okay? It also affects your social relations inside the home, among family, and also outside the home. People living in energy poverty in many situations don't want anybody to visit them at home because they are embarrassed of the situation where they live. It also may affect on children's education. They don't have the decent conditions to develop, for example, their homework. If they are online, of course not, or they don't have the conditions to study and so on. It also affects to the way people in energy poverty eat. Maybe they can't cook, warm cook. It's been named. Maybe you, of course, you know it. That it's been named as the heat or eat dilemma. What do I do? I pay the bill, or I buy more, or I buy food, or and cook it. And well, it has also other consequences. It affects of your, of the opportunities. This is based on different researches, okay? And you have on your report, you have the references to all of this. It affects also of your opportunities to find job, of course, on your opportunities to participate in society. And I would also like to emphasize that the impact also vary depending on your age, depending on your gender. There are studies that show how energy poverty mostly affects women than men, depending on your family role, if you are a people with a disability or not, if you live in a private or in a rented house, depending also on your ethnic background. If you come from an ethnic minority and you don't have so many social support on the way you live, on the place you live, and depending also, as conclusion, your social capital. Very briefly about which are the impacts of energy poverty on people's well-being. The fourth idea, how do we measure it? There's no consensus, again, about this. The Energy Poverty Observatory suggests to use these 4 indicators. Some of them are objective, some of them are subjective, and they suggest they understand that we can say that one household is in energy poverty if they have arrears on their utility bills, or if their energy expenditure is very, very low, is below the half of the national medium, or if it's very, very high, if it's energy expenditure it's more than twice the national medium, or if they have answered the question and they say that they are not able to keep their home adequately warm. Each country uses different indicators and then combine them because each indicator is more focused in one or other type of energy poverty. One is more, for example, the low absolute energy expenditure is more focused on hidden energy poverty. Well, and the suggestion is to use a combination of several of them. And again, here, there is not a consensus, European consensus, let's say. The fifth idea is about the impact. This is a problem in Europe. This is a very big challenge. It occurs among all Europe, although in different levels. As you can see here in this map, it's colored the fourth indicator I mentioned before, the inability to keep the home adequately warm. But the Europe says that the 11% of the EU population, which is about 54 million Europeans, suffer energy poverty. So this is the fifth idea. And what Europe is doing, the European Commission has put in practice different policies, regulations, and different initiatives. Again, you can go to the report where there are all of them explained, but we can say that there was a starting point in 2014 on the Energy Union strategy where the concept of energy poverty was first mentioned. And then it's been working on it and the different regulations and initiatives like the COP21 or the Global Climate Action Agenda. But I would like to now today to emphasize that maybe the flourishing point was when in 2018 it was creating the Energy Poverty Observatory, which was a 40-month project, which has already finished, and it's now transitioning to another form named European Energy Poverty Advisory Board, which is the place we have in Europe to put all together all what we are doing different European member states. So I very highly recommend you to use these resources, to go to this place, because there is where we aim to put together all what we are doing. And now the web is under construction because it's changing, but there is very soon there is the launch event of this European advisory energy poverty advisory hub. I think it's at the end of the month, so we'll I encourage you, if you're interested in this topic, to go there. And then the seventh idea, which gives the floor to the other part. The seventh idea is that very basically we have defined it within the causes, the consequences, how it measure, how it is an impact, which is its impact in Europe. But what do they do? We can see that most European countries still do not identify or quantify energy poverty. It's not still a topic on their national agendas. We can see that others are working on it, although they don't have, for example, an energy poverty national strategy. We see that some countries have its own definition, others use the definition I presented, or the definition from the Energy Poverty Observatory. Some of these countries have national strategy, others no. And well, apparently policies, this was our hypothesis, policies differs and seem to depend on the different, social policy approaches and traditions, which is quite obvious of these countries. So this is what we've done on the second part. I stopped the first part here. What we've done this comparative analysis based on these different social policies, approaches, and traditions. So I lived here this first background, European background.
Thanks a lot, Vicky, for setting this first context. I actually put the link to the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub launch event in the chat for those who want to register. So yeah, thanks for this first already quite full picture of this very complex phenomenon of energy poverty. As you said, it's still a quite hidden problem and not clearly defined. It's poverty, but it's not only poverty. It's about not being able to pay your energy bills, but it's not only that, because there are so many consequences and related issues that come with it. So yeah, it's that makes it certainly also so difficult to define the right policies and measures for it. And you were also mentioning the social determinants. So it's really quite relevant who you are and where you come from, what is your social background, what is your socioeconomic situation, what is your race or your gender, and all this is unfortunately conditioning your risk of becoming energy poor or not. And the positive thing that you mentioned is that the EU is focusing, or has growingly in a growing way been focusing on energy poverty in the last years. And we also see that from the number of EU-funded projects, for example, that are focusing on the topic from different angles. So that's really, really encouraging. So yeah, let's hope that this EU policy can also really influence in a very positive way the different national intervention schemes. I don't see any question in the chat. I guess that's because it was super clear what you presented, Vicky. I don't know if anybody has a specific question for that first part. If so, you can put the question in the chat, or you can also do it afterwards. We will have Q&As after each of the sessions. So if there is no specific question now, I just want to launch a quick survey to see a bit what is your knowledge on energy poverty. And I will launch it now. I hope you can all see it, and would encourage you just to click on the answer that you think is the right one. Aha. So the question is, how many member states have an official definition for energy poverty? We all know that there are not many, but still, is it less than 10, between 10 and 15, or more than 15? Okay, well, a majority was absolutely right. It's less than 10. I mean, it's not a good news, but it's good news that many of you are aware of this very low number, which is maybe also inspiring and gives us a bit more reason to fight for having clearer definitions and better schemes in the different countries. I think you didn't see the. I guess now you see the results. And I have a second question before we get to the second part of Vicky's presentation, which is the question of the share of people who are unable to heat their homes. So what is the correct share between those three countries that we put in the survey? So is it Sweden who has quite a low share of people who can't heat, and Greece a lot? Or is it France who's rather forerunner in that sense of having less people, and Greece doing fine, and Sweden having more difficulties as it's a cold country? Or is it the third option with Greece being ranking first? Okay, I will stop. So yes, same. You're 90% of you were right. So indeed, it's Sweden with only, well, with less than 5%. France is in the middle, and unfortunately, Greece is having quite a high percentage of people who have difficulties with that. All right. So thanks for sharing your knowledge, and I see that we have quite a skilled and knowledgeable audience today, which is encouraging. So Vicky, if you like to share your next slides for the second part.
Now, can you see them? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I go to part 2. Okay. Sorry. So here we are now. Okay, so what we did here, and what we did here, as I said before, was this part is about a general review of how each member state approaches energy poverty, and for that we have clustered the countries by the following a classification of the welfare social state models. The welfare state model, for many, if any of you are not very familiar with this concept, but it's what we understand in the interventions that we understand that the public sector address for tackle social risks. The essential concepts that characterize one welfare state model and differs from the other are the relations between the state, the market, and the family. This relation is what what characterizes one model or other. There are other essential concepts like the role of social citizenships, the role of social rights, etc. And well, these models are, let's say, very obvious, but are based on their historical background, on political activities, and also on their historical background on their social and economic characteristics. We've used this a very classical classification, which, well, at the beginning, the first proposal was proposed by Stig Andersen, was about 3 models, but then other 2 were added. This is not a political talk, so I leave it here. But we use these 5 classifications: the social or democratic model, which are the Nordics, Norway, Sweden, Finland, also Netherlands; the social corporativist model, which are also named continental, France, German, Austria, the liberal model, which is United Kingdom and Ireland, the Mediterranean model, which are Spain, Portugal, Italy, Greece, and then all the others, Central and Eastern post-communist state members who joined Europe later. So what we found, again, sorry for insisting, but these will be main ideas, but in the reports are more details on the interventions found by each model. What we did was, I've not mentioned, but the methodology for doing that, we analyzed the member states report that the European Energy Poverty Observatory does each 2 years, I think. So we analyzed this report, and the data were data from until 2020, but it was the COVID crisis was not reflected on that data. Maybe now has, maybe something has changed from them. Well, on the first welfare state model, the social democratic, which are these countries, Denmark, Finland, Norway, Sweden, and the Netherlands, they are characterized by having a robust social service system. And let's say that in this relationship between the state, market, and family, here in this model, the dominant welfare provider is the state. So what we found here, we found that in these countries, energy poverty is addressed, but is not addressed specifically from the energy perspective, let's say. It is addressed through the robust general social protection system, and it is considered as one of the several dimensions of energy poverty. For example, we read that in Finland, they carried out 2 specific national studies about energy poverty, because they had that question: should we develop a specific national strategy on energy poverty or not? And at the end, they concluded that they do not need this is national strategy, because they already address the issue of energy poverty in Finland through their welfare system. What we found in the second model, here, the second model, Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Hungary, it is characterized by having a diversity of corporate structures who also provide well-being, not just the state or the state, but together with corporate structures. And here we found like 2 approaches. We don't find, as in the former before, we don't find one robust conclusion, but we found that there are some countries like Germany, Austria, or Luxembourg who deal energy poverty through the general social protection system, the same as the social democratic model. And there are other countries, like for example, France or Belgium, who recognize it specifically, recognize energy poverty as a specific problem. In fact, in France, they have launched the French Observatory of Energy Poverty. In Belgium, they have national strategy, and also in other regionals, they have specific regional strategies to tackle energy poverty. So here we found this diversity. Maybe after in the questions and answer in the debate, we can, people who you are from all these countries, you can suggest why this happens or why not. That would be very interesting for us. On the liberal model, which is mainly characterized by, well, where the private sector has a relevant role as well, providing social services. Here is Ireland and United Kingdom. Here, these 2 countries have a long history of engagement in energy poverty. In fact, I think all the other countries are copying or looking at Ireland or United Kingdom, because they were the ones who started working on this tip and this issue. So they have a highly developed specific policy strategies, national, at city level, regional, etc. And here we also found which has to do with its characterization, that also private companies, the suppliers and energy suppliers, they have an active role also addressing this issue, which is quite logic, since in this model, the private sector has this responsibility of also provide social services. So here we found this. Then on the Mediterranean models, they joined to this topic very recently. These models are more the Mediterranean model is more characterized by, well, the role that families and civil society also play an essential role of micro solidarity also, and at sometimes acting as acting as the state acts in other models. So here this gap are families and civil society who play that role. So we found that yes, in Spain, in Greece, and Italy, it is recently identified. I say recently, maybe 5 years ago or less. And in fact, in Spain, a few years ago, the first national strategy was developed. And here we also found that there were a lot of active civil organizations who pushed who make that the topic emerge in the and to put this topic on the political agenda, okay, from these activists. This is what we found. On Portugal and Malta, we don't found a national strategy. I don't know if it has recently changed in the last year. I don't know if it's someone from Portugal or Malta in the room. Let us know. But we do found some emerging policies. So yeah, they are starting to working on this. And then at the end, on the Central and Eastern countries, these are these countries that incorporated to Europe later. And we found here very, very different levels of development. You can see it on the report that, for example, Lithuania and Poland are starting to prepare its national strategy, although other countries don't mention the energy poverty at all, and so on. So here we have different levels of development. And the evidences we have on all the countries where start working on this were due to European projects. So here, let's say that all the machine of European projects that try to bring together these different experiences from different countries in this topic is we can say that is helping these countries to start working on the issue. So until then, the broad panoramic classified from these 5 welfare states, and I moved the conclusions to after the other part. So I linked both. So I leave it here now, Miriam.
Thank you very much, Vicky. It's super interesting to see all those differences. I'm looking forward to getting a bit of feedback from the different participants, especially as you're all coming from very different countries as well, and you might be able to complete what Vicky just said. The thing that I can say is that because you were mentioning Portugal, as far as I know, there is a new long-term energy poverty strategy out since this year. It has been under consultation in May still. So I'm not quite sure where it stands now, but it should be published by now. And it's a strategy for 2021 till 2050. I will send you a link because we did one webinar on that strategy and social housing and energy poverty in Portugal. So that could be interesting for you to complete your report. Are there any other reactions or it's being discussed, says Salome, one of the participants. Thanks, Salome, for that. I will send you the link. Are there other reactions, either by chat or, I mean, we're not so many people, so if we're speaking one after the other, it could work even if you want to take your mic. So you have this little button normally at the bottom side of your Zoom where you can raise your hand. So don't hesitate to do that, and then I can open your mic and give you the floor. Just some reactions on what Vicky just presented. Actually, Vicky, Erio was also commenting earlier in the chat, saying that according to him and according to the French Energy Poverty Observatory, the percentage of people who are energy poor in France should be a bit higher than what we said in our survey. He says it's more between 12 and 14 than 5 to 10. So,
okay, data were taken from our research, but I think data were from 2019. I can share the academic research where the data comes from, but maybe, well, for sure, if the French observatory has done its own resources, it knows with more property the figures. So yeah, so it's higher. You mean?
Apparently, it's a bit higher. Yeah.
Oh, thanks for the correction. Yeah.
Is there any other feedback or something that you want to share from your country? Daniel is saying, good to hear that the UK is addressing the problem, but I think that COVID and the recent energy cost increases have really worsened the problem. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, that will be very interesting to do this comparison after with the data after COVID. I'm afraid to do it, but yes, I agree, Daniel. Yes.
Okay, I think there are not many other. I was me who gave the French date before COVID. I could be happy to share more info. Suzanne de Chevigné is saying that she could have some more figures as well. Thanks for that. Yeah, I think that can be useful for Vicky or for others. Great. Julien, yeah, I see you raise your hand.
Yes, one question. Thanks for the presentation. And can we then derive from the data that you have shown in the first part that some of the strategy of the different welfare states category are more effective than the other, or you will do that in the third part in the conclusion?
In the conclusion, I will now in the second part, I will give some insight on interventions and then a general reflection about how it links with the different welfare states. But these are preliminary thoughts, very open to the debate. So if you want to do now some suggestion, or if you want, we discuss it at the end, as you prefer.
My question was more which of the welfare states is the most effective in tackling energy poverty?
Okay, so I don't have that question because the question is, as always, a combination of both. but this I illustrated on the third part. If you want, we talk about this then, because there we see the different layers of intervention using the socio-ecological model.
Okay, so maybe it's the right time then to go to this next part, Vicky. I let you continue and finish this presentation.
Okay, we have about 10 minutes for this, and then we have still
like 5 minutes
time,
for
5 minutes for questions and so on. Okay, so in this part, we analyzed the interventions, but it's true that we did not analyze them. Well, okay, nothing. I'm not going in there, but we analyzed the interventions using those that we found on the state members report, others that we knew from our experiences. So we map all different interventions. What can we do? But for that, we used, but we also wanted to understand the impact of the different interventions. So for that, we use the framework we use in our WELLBASED project, which is the socio-ecological model. The socio-ecological model tries to map the relationship between individuals, their environment and health, and says that all different policies impact on people's health. So, but it has different layers of influences. The social and determinants, the social and ecological determinants of health are these, are those elements we have to take into account that have some impact on people's health. There are some biological determinants like the age, sex, constitutional factors, and that you can change it. But then there are others, individual lifestyle factors, if you smoke or not, if you practice exercise or not. This is the first layer, and this we can change them and has influence on people's health. Then there is a second layer, which is more related with social and community networks. This also we can impact on this, change things on this layer, and this has an impact on health. Then there is a broader third level, which is the living and working conditions. And here we have the rates of unemployment, the work environment, our education, the healthcare services, housing, agriculture, and food productions. All these are issues where there are policies related to these issues, and at the end, it has a direct impact on people's health. And then there is a fourth external layer, which is more structural, which is named the general socioeconomic, cultural, and environmental conditions. Here mainly are the policies, the regulations, and so on. So this is a model used on the health literature, but we try to map our energy poverty interventions according to this model and see which different interventions affected more individual lawyers, which different interventions affected more social and community networks, which are more impacting on the third lawyer, the living and working conditions, and which impact on the fourth lawyer. Because the idea is to develop an urban program that combines different interventions. And doing a little of a spoiler and that answering to Julian, what we've seen with our comparison is that there are some welfare state models which are are doing more interventions of one lawyer. There are others which maybe other lawyer is more present on their policies or interventions. So with the 5 minutes that I have, what did we find? What can we do to tackle energy poverty if we want to change to affect the first lawyer? So interventions which has to be oriented to promote information and education in energy efficiency. Interventions oriented to decrease energy consumption and energy cost, but changing individuals' lifestyles, the individuals' ways of how they use their energy. And here we found a lot of intervention. You all know individual energy advice, trainings to vulnerable people, telephone-based energy advice, energy audits, energy debt advice, optimization bill support, all has to do with educational materials, etc. In the report, you have links to examples of all these or of the 3 or 4 best practices we selected for this lawyer. Regarding the second lawyer, what we can do in terms of energy poverty to contribute to affect this second lawyer, the social and community networks. Here we thought that we have to think about interventions oriented to promote community support and to promote also mutual aid. In that way, moving from an individual conception of energy poverty to a more collective support approach. Let's say it's not moving from this idea of the energy poor and the social assistant and very directly to a more situation where also society are aware of the problem and get their responsibility and give mutual support to people in this situation. Here we found very interesting interventions and very few, not very common, but we found collective assessments between people living in energy poverty or people who was in energy poverty and then who was in energy poverty previously and give advice to people who are now in energy poverty, peer-to-peer learning, assemblies also to share their situation, and in that case, achieving that, people move from this feeling of victimization or isolation and put it in a shared space with people that has the same problem and see that it's not his own problem or her own problem, it's a structural problem of the society. Also, we found some very interesting interventions that try to map the actors' identifiers, like doctors, teachers who see that the children are going to the school without the homeworks or in I mean, without having a shower, for example, social workers. So train to these identifier actors who can identify hidden energy poverty, promoting initiatives to try to promote volunteer on energy advice support, and that way to spread the problem and make other people like the volunteers aware of it. Self-financing communities as well. We found one example of people who joined together and put together different incomes in order to finance micro interventions, micro energy efficiency interventions, and of course all the campaigns to raise awareness, general campaigns to raise awareness on the topic on the general public, let's say. On the third level, here there was a very variety of interventions, and here we understood, we selected for this lawyer, we selected those interventions oriented to improve the access to the services we need for a dignified work and life condition. The level is working and living conditions, and especially as services, we understood as having a dignified housing. Okay, so all the measures who has to do with energy efficiency, refurbishment, yeah, all these measures regarding to this, we put it in this lawyer. All the measures that have to do also with the monetary support as well. Other initiatives we also found that generate employment opportunities for people living in energy vulnerable who get employed, were trained as energy advisors, and then went to other energy vulnerable houses to do their audits, so to generate these employment opportunities, and also to these very few projects, but emerging projects that try to use the potential of energy renewable energy to also to feed, to give energy to vulnerable houses. Here we are working with energy cities, coordinating by energy cities with a project, Power Up project, working on this specific issue, and there are also other projects. So we hope to have more evidences on different initiatives for this lawyer soon. And then, well, at the end, this is the easier to identify, maybe the more difficult to achieve, which are these interventions that try to promote, oriented to make more structural changes in bringing to energy poverty this idea. We are looking for structural energy changes on the, of course, on the energy market, how we set the price of the energy. Maybe we found some examples of some initiatives that develop a social tariff, of course, protection against disconnection, remunicipalization, municipalities that recover the let's say the supply system and decide their own social tariff for people in vulnerable situation, but also linking the energy poverty policies with the healthcare system protocols, that we could identify an energy poor or an energy vulnerable person when he or she goes to the doctor, and because it is in the protocol of the doctor, and he could easily identify them. And well, again, in the report we have go in depth and link it like 3 or 4 with more details, 3 or 4 of these example. So it's a very difficult question at the end. After this work, we say, so which welfare state is the best and which goes with them? And we don't have, sorry, we don't have a very robust conclusion, but it's true that we can affirm that we've seen that welfare traditions and model of each state in some way shapes the energy poverty policies, and it's true that in some way emphasizes one or different lawyer. For example, I have the experience here in Spain, where we said that it was a model where the family and the civil society plays a role of micro-solidarity because the state does not play that role. And here we have found different initiatives regarding more with the second lawyer, which is the lawyer on social and community networks, but we did not find a lot of work regarding the fourth lawyer, which is the opposite that we found on the Finland and Sweden model, on the Nordic model. Maybe it's a very robust welfare provider model, but very individualistic. And this is one of the critics of this model. These are preliminary thoughts, and as a conclusion, it's obvious, but I want to reinforce this idea. We need to go beyond our welfare traditions because we've seen that it's not enough. Energy poverty is a very multidimensional problem, and if we want to really improve people's well-being and health, we need to work on all different layers. So we need to go beyond our traditions and innovate, experiment, and exchange, so as to develop policies more multi-layer. And hopefully projects like this one, which joins together countries with different welfare states, and other projects, we are people in this room involved, hopefully they could contribute to this innovation which is needed in terms of energy poverty. And I leave it here, Miriam. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vicky. Thanks for providing us with a good number of ingredients for intervention activities. So you kind of zoomed out from the most individual measures to something which would be more dealt with at the society level. Are there any questions from the audience or something that you would like to add? Because of course it's not necessarily exhaustive in the in terms of the list of measures that exist or that are feasible. So there's a very nice comment from Suzanne who says that it was super interesting. Thanks for this.
We are very happy to still working on this. So any comments, suggestion to go further with this work, as you see, I put it as preliminary conclusions, but of course, more in-depth research is needed to arrive to a more robust affirmation. So very, very welcome any comment or any hope, because we did it because the initial idea of this report was to inspire pilots to define their urban program, but if it can also go further, so very happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what I was just thinking when you were commenting is that there's also something quite interesting that can build a bridge between the individual and the community approach, which is, you were talking about assemblies, and this was more assemblies of people getting together and sharing their experience, I guess, more at the local level. But then there's more and more this recommendation. And I remember I had a talk with Lucy Middlemiss from the University of Leeds, who was contributing to the white paper on the upcoming Dutch energy poverty strategy. And she was saying that one of the recommendations they gave was to for the government to have kind of a panel of energy poor people that would be consulted at a regular basis, so that those people can share their experience and really be part of the policy design at government level. So I think it's an interesting idea. I'm not quite aware of how much that already happens in different countries, but it's certainly a possibility.
Because we always say that we should listen and include the voice of affected people in order to design the policies, which is a very powerful idea, but very difficult then to implement it when designing a policy. So it's very good to know that in Netherlands, you said
that was one of their recommendations. I don't know whether the government will take that into account, but hopefully they will do. Yeah. Okay, I'm just checking if there are other comments or hands raised. I think we could, I mean, I would love to talk much more about this because we just started actually digging into it with what you presented, Vicky. And there are so many like starting points for interesting thoughts and possible debates. But we said it would be 1 hour, so I don't want to take more of the time than what we had promised. In any case, as Vicky was saying, we're really happy if you can provide us with additional inputs even afterwards. You can send an email either to me or to Vicky. And you can also check out on the WELLBASED website. We will keep on updating it at a regular speed, and also the WELLBASED Twitter, which is even where we're even more active and continuously communicating. So I will stop here. I thank you all very much. Yeah, we will put the emails in the, I will put the emails in the chat. Thank you very much for all of you for having been there, for the interest that you bring to this topic. Thanks, Vicky, for sharing your valuable insights of a complicated topic. And yeah, have a good day, all of you. I will also put I will put the email address, and I will also put the link to the WELLBASED contact points in the different countries. So in case you want to get in touch with the pilots or the experts in the different WELLBASED countries, you can do that. And yeah, for those who want to have the presentation, send an email to me as well, and I will send it to you. I hope I didn't forget anything in my list, but thanks to all of you, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye, have a good day. Thank you. Thanks, Miriam.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Miriam, someone said in the chat that we should do more webinars like this in the project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's a good format.
Thanks, because it was you who proposed to do it open, and I think it has sense for, I mean, what has not sense is to do a report and not present or not sharing.
I always
or
think that
reported.
this is, yeah, the bad side of all those project deliverables, that usually they're being done without benefiting others, actually. So whenever we can, I think we should make sure that others can have some, a bit
Elena,
of the
Elena,
input.
come say hello to
Hi, Elena. How are you doing? I don't hear you anymore, but I see you. I see you in the banana. Cool. I think you're since you took out the headset, I don't hear you anymore. I see you, but I don't know why. Yeah, I don't hear you. Now, yeah. Now it works.
And
Hi, Elena.
Hi, good morning.
How are you doing?
Congratulations, Miriam, and also to Vicky. I think it's a very nice format, very agile, very dynamic, and I think that we should do more events like that. Once we have some more results, some more publications, some more reports to disseminate. So congratulations, Miriam.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks. But it was also thanks to Vicky. I think you're a good presenter, so it makes it more dynamic as well. So I think we were a good team.
But you did it as conductor. You did it very well as well. I know Vicky does it very well because I have seen there before. I have listened it quite a few times, but not yet to you. So congrats for the
Cool.
event and for the organization. And I think we should do things like that more when we progress.
Whenever you want, really, I think. And I mean, you've seen the time investment is not that huge. I think, especially for people who, in any case, already worked on the topic. I mean, the people know what they present, so it's not that much time to foresee. And if we have, I mean, we had 30 people all around.
It's quite.
That's really a nice number.
Yes, it's good for the time, and there's now that there's plenty of events all around in streaming and so on. So congratulations.
Yeah,
Miriam.
thanks a lot.
Thanks to you. Thanks to you.
Yeah,
thanks a lot.
Cool. Well, then let's. I don't.
Quítale el si quieres el.
Yeah. I don't hear you anymore, but well. I think when you disconnect, it's the mic doesn't.
Yeah,
doesn't
so
work
nothing.
anymore. Okay, well, thanks, Vicky. Thanks a lot. And yeah, I will have to see if I actually, well, the recording I think Elena forgot to start the recording, so I launched it quite late. So I don't think that we put the replay somewhere online because the beginning is missing, but we will see if some people want some more information or your PowerPoint, then if you don't mind, I can potentially share it with others.
I don't mind. I don't mind.
Okay.
Yes,
cool.
sure.
Okay, good. Well, thanks for this and have a good day and see you soon.
You too, Miriam.
Bye, Vicky.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.